Hey everyone, it's your host Debbie Deere here for In Review, the show where we look at our past episodes, comments, and occasionally take back a few statements. Today we're going to be talking about COVID-19 mortality rates with the intelligent and the controversial Veronique Odette. We're going to be talking arts and culture with Vicky A. Lee, the wonderful, stylish co-host. And we're going to be looking at Wuhan Institute of Virology. Did they admit that COVID started there? One final thing, lockdown or Nazi Germany? Let's hear what our users have to say on In Review. All right, so welcome to the show. We have the enigmatic, the esoteric, the brilliant Veronique Odette.
Enchantée. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to look at these stories and also talk about what our viewers are saying,
Absolutely.
Give some feedback. So it's great.
Yeah, so we're going to jump right into it with some commentary from our audience. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I believe our first comment comes from
Facebook.
Yes.
The Book of Many Faces.
Yes, let's see what we've got.
Yeah, so this is a story that I'm sure you've seen circulated. The list of government officials who are getting exposed for vacationing during the pandemic keeps growing. This is yet another example of rules for thee and not for me. How about we talk about what Fanuc Bot has to say?
Okay, so Fanuc Bot says they should be fired and fined for breaking their own rules, and of course, no benefit plans for them either. These people have no compassion or concern for us or the people they serve. My feeling is that they consider this to be a big joke. So if it's a joke, why are we following these jokers?
Even the author of Report 9, Neil Ferguson, and that's the report that shut down global economies, including Canada's, was forced to step down from councillor at his position in counselling the UK Parliament because he himself broke his own quarantine rules. So begs the question, A, if these government officials are really serious about the legitimacy of these control measures, despite, countless experts speaking to the contrary, why is it then that they aren't even conceding to their own requirements?
That's a great question. I mean, we all want to be on vacation, sipping margarita somewhere. I am Jamaican. I would love to be back home. But if you're putting us under harsh measures, then I feel that you as officials should be adhering to that. So I'm with Snooky Snook. I just love saying that name.
Such a great name.
No resignation, charged and fired. Yeah, that says it perfectly to me. Let's move on to the next one.
Here we have a fascinating story about how Bulgaria has become the latest country to implement COVID-19 tracking units on its residents. Other places are testing wearable gadgets, but this is really the first to roll it out in a consistent manner. Now, what do our lovely viewers have to say about this?
Ooh, well, it's not good, folks. They say it's just like Nazi Germany, I believe. Yeah,
that comment. At first, reading that comment, I was a little perturbed, as one would naturally be.
Yeah.
Then looking at source material, as you see here at the Holocaust Encyclopedia, we can see that, quote, the Nazi state quickly became a regime which Germans enjoyed no guaranteed basic rights. Our fundamental basic right, minimally the right of assembly, has been stripped away from us, never mind the fact that countless businesses have been forced to close and their livelihoods ripped away from them because of lockdown measures, which are questionably or credibly criticized for a lot of experts and scientists.
So yes, this is from the same article, and if you're interested, I believe it was, could we just go back a little bit so we can show our viewers? The Holocaust Memorial Museum is where we got this. So if we move on to the next slide, I'm just going to read this quickly. Extensive propaganda was used to spread the regime's goals and ideals upon the death of German President Paul von Hindenburg in August 1934. Hitler assumed the powers of the presidency. The army swore an oath of personal loyalty to him. So that is huge, because I see a parallel there as well, where there are some government officials who have implemented these measures and they've essentially bypassed, again, like Vera said, the Human Rights Code. So there are a lot of bylaws in effect. We know some of them to be, let's say, masking, some of them to be stay-at-home orders, which are bylaws, but they're incongruent with our human rights. So you can always check us out on Instagram at Internet News. So this one is amazing. So first of all, the person who writes it is writing about one of Vera's pieces, which is the COVID-19 statistical analysis mortality rate. You guys can check out the 5-part series on INN24.ca. So what are we talking about here? Well, Vera goes into it with Diana. We talk about it later on in the show about how mortality rate interacts with COVID-19. Jesus is the only way, says.
Praise be.
Hallelujah. Experimental V is the key word here. All about the money and their agenda, not to mention that they have zero accountability if the vaccine kills people. In fact, they're even saying don't be surprised if people die from taking it. What? Also, what happened to the flu? What are those? Where are those numbers? All of a sudden it disappears. The tests are a joke. The numbers just don't add up. We're all tired of the lies. It's all conditioning. The majority of people have literally stopped, and you have to actually read more. So yeah, I'll let you finish that.
I mean, we could go into every single point about how the PCR tests are inaccurate, and a lot of, experts on the matter will actually even call them fraudulent because of the amount of false positives that are created and generated. You can actually also look at our story on PCR tests and how they aren't controlled here in Ontario. So have a look at our INN24.ca account. And I could go on to keep kind of providing context for this position, but I think what's more important is the generalized malaise and anxiety and angoisse that you see in this piece. And this is something that's echoed in the hearts and voices of a lot of people who are tired of being told to comply and being told to give and abdicate their, fundamental human rights and expressions and freedoms in order to comply with an order that they don't find is legitimate.
All right, so we'll have one more in this section, and then we're going to go into a short talk discussion with our girl Vicky Ailey. But let's switch on by and see what is coming up next. Okay, yeah, so this is a big one. So we're not going to go over it too much here, but the activity of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Essentially, we know, we've heard this virus originated in Wuhan, China. Big speculation there, but this is an article that actually almost basically corroborates that to be true. I'll let you take it from here, Vera.
It's clear that the COVID virus originated in Wuhan. The discrepancy is the difference between the original emergence of this virus and the lab-made origin of this virus. We have a lot of epidemiologists, scientists, virologists actually looking at the constituents of this virus and asserting that it actually couldn't happen naturally. So we covered these issues a little bit, but there wasn't really enough true hard data to substantiate this until this actually came out. So again, have a look at our website at INN24 for all of the relative information. This is the United States Department of State actually asserting in a fact sheet that they believe that there is credible evidence to assert that the Chinese Communist Party, as well as the Wuhan Institute of Virology, were actually developing the SARS-CoV virus that we are now experiencing in a pandemic, is what one of our viewers actually commented. And this is going to be in the next slide. So in the Wuhan Institute of Virology newsletter in 2015, you can see that they effectively show the research progress on this new program that they've been developing, and it is the SARS-CoV virus. And you'll see also, I want to point towards the title here, it's a little bit of an ominous question. Will SARS come back? And I mean, now we know assertively that yes, it has, and it's caused global devastation on a scale that we have never experienced before.
Welcome back, everyone, to In Review. I'm Debbie Deere, and we are back with Vicky, who is the ever stylish arts and culture queen here at INN24. Vicky, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine, and thank you for that generous introduction.
You're welcome. Okay, so Vicky, what do you have for us today in review?
So the first story I would like to review is a bit of a grim one. So we had a landlord from North Carolina in the city of Charlotte. They are the landlord of City Inn, a motel that people rent out to live in. So they have created what you see here as a wall of shame. So they've used a Bristol board, a display board traditionally used for science fair and experiments, to essentially embarrass the tenants for being late on rent.
Shame on them is what I say. Like right now we're going through some really hard times, obviously with COVID, and a lot of people don't have steady finances. So I really find that this is like a disgraceful act. But to be fair, because we're all about compassion here at INN24, maybe the landlord is also behind on a few things as well. So we're really put in a difficult situation here.
Definitely. It is a difficult time for everybody. So there is a moratorium on evictions that is effective until March 31st in North Carolina. So some people have conjectured that this is a way for the landlord to extort rent from its tenants, essentially.
Yep, seems like a plausible plan, especially if your picture and I believe the license plates are up in here.
It's the driver's license of
Oh my
the
gosh.
tenant. So it has a lot of sensitive information. One of the tenants, whose name I will not bring up, she has actually been a victim of identity theft in the past. So this is, of course, a very triggering way to, force rent. And yeah, she's very fearful of the safety of her family.
Well, very tragic story there, but you know what? We'll see how it progresses, and with COVID-19, it can bring out the worst in some of us, but we're hoping that people get the resources that they need so that they know this kind of behavior is illegal and immoral. That's how I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's next? I feel like something, who's this?
So this is a mother from Red Deer, Alberta. Her name is Rebecca McDonald. So if you are a frequenter of Telegram or Facebook, you might recognize her face because her video has essentially gone viral on the social media channels.
Oh, wow.
So have you seen her before, Debbie? I know you're very active on social media.
I'm pretty active except for when I'm being shadowed or some people are giving me harsh comments on certain platforms.
Happens.
But I'm very proud to be on most platforms. I've never seen this woman before. Actually, sorry. Let me redact that because that's what INNreview is all about. I did actually see a video of her. She was, I believe, holding her iPhone. She was going through the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was withheld or something like that from her.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Rebecca,
he had taken the antigen test, the COVID-19 antigen test. So that needs to be distinguished from the PCR test. So the antigen test is also known as the rapid test. So upon arrival at the Calgary airport, the Border Patrol officials said, no, that is, quote, not accurate. So upon that, he was essentially escorted to the isolation facility, but they did not disclose where the location was. And that was essentially the cause of her grief because she had no idea where her son that she hadn't seen in 2 years was being taken. And it was supposed to be a cheerful reunion, but she had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, this is very sad because, I mean, this is what Vera and I covered earlier on, was that people's basic human rights are kind of being revoked under the auspices of, I would say, certain kind of quarantine measures. Like, in all honesty, we all have the right to be free human beings, and at least the information should have been released as to where his whereabouts were to his family. Yeah, so this is unfortunate that that happened. But hopefully, do you know if they...
There is a happy ending,
Okay,
so we're
good.
getting there.
Good.
So
Yeah.
he spent one night at the facility, so where he got a proper PCR test, as as mandated. So once the results were cleared, he was ushered to the airport where his mom collected him.
Okay.
And she is very, very vocal about the situation on her Facebook, so you could check it out on her Facebook account, and you can also read the full article on INN24.ca.
All right, love the plug. That was seamless. Speaking of seamless plugs, Vicky's outfit, she's always ever so stylish. We at INN24 are constantly looking for sponsors to outfit our wonderful, lovely, informed selves. So, holla at you girls if you care to be.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving along, I don't know how many stories we have left, but this one, okay.
Such a good one.
I really have to say this. It is Black Excellence, Black Heritage Month. So it brings me joy and pleasure to talk about the functional mind and body family that we see here. I saw snippets of this interview, but it seems super interesting. From my understanding, this family, whose dad used to be a professional boxer,
Exactly.
they're all interested in psychotherapy and kinesiology training to keep your mind functional. So
Exactly.
Let
So
you
you
talk
summed
about
it up perfectly.
Yeah.
So functional mind and body, as the name suggests, is very much about the harmony of the body and the mind. So sisters Shakia and Mika, they have created this really innovative approach to help us rethink what fitness means. So they incorporate physical training along with brain exercises. So a major impetus for this was just the cognitive decay that we've been experiencing since lockdown.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if you've noticed it, but during the times indoors, it's really hard to just
Oh yeah.
stimulate your mind the same way you would in a workplace or in social settings.
All right, so I'll be brief. It is Black History Month, also known as African Heritage Month, and here at INN24, we're going to be doing one feature on Black excellence every week. So you can stay tuned for that. Check out our YouTube and INN24.ca to see who we're featuring next this month. All right, I'm just going to wrap it up there, Vicky. Thank you so much for being
you.
on In Review. And yeah, join us again to see what we come up with next. Thanks for watching In Review with me, Debbie Deer, and my lovely two other co-hosts, Veronique Odette and Vicky A. Lee. Join us next time where we look at what's in review. If you want to join the conversation and comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, BitTube, BitChute, Patreon, and more at INN24.ca or Internet News. Join us next time for In Review. Remember, stay in the heart of it.